Good morning, everyone. My name is Penny Johnson. I'm an instructor at the Madison Area Technical College in Madison, Wisconsin. I teach in the Administrative Professional Program here at the college, and today we're going to go over the topic of time and project management. Both topics could fill hours of time. We teach entire courses on both topics. So I'm going to try to condense those down into the most useful tips that we can apply as administrative professionals working in the field, and give you some resourceful tips that you can apply on the job today. Okay, so let me start out by telling you a little bit about myself. As I mentioned, my name is Penny Johnson. I currently teach at Madison College in Madison, Wisconsin. My career as an administrative professional began right out of high school, like many of my colleagues. I worked as an office aide in a furniture store, processing the paperwork. I'm proud to say that when I started working, we still used green ledger books. We're just starting to implement computer systems at that time. And I worked my way up through the field, spent many, many years as an administrative assistant, supporting at a new organization. I supported a team of 6 managers. Loved that position. As I was growing and developing, I saw an opportunity to advance to a position as executive assistant to a VP. So I did that for a short time. That was not a fit for me. I didn't enjoy the work as much. Those of you who have worked at the executive level will understand that it's more of a political position than it is like getting work done, which is more my style. So after a short time as the executive assistant, I moved back to the position of being administrative assistant. I actually moved back into my previous role supporting 6 managers, which is just a job I really loved. Doing good work, being able to help others do good work every day, boots on the ground. And one of the things I quickly learned is that I had an aptitude for time management and project management, because when you're supporting multiple managers, things are coming at you from all directions at all times. So that's a little bit about me. Let me just tell you a little bit about the college that I work for now. So we teach. What I do at Madison College is I teach people who have perhaps worked in a different profession and are now seeking a career as an administrative professional. So I teach specifically the career skills that we apply in our profession, working as an administrative professional. And I thoroughly, thoroughly enjoy it. I have some younger students, but more often than not, I see men and women who are seeking a career change. And it's really just, I'm just so thrilled to introduce them to the career of administrative professional work because I enjoy it so much. And then because teaching now is my full-time gig at the college, I keep my skills fresh and current by working as a virtual assistant on the side. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. We've got a lot to get through. Here's our agenda for today. We're going to start out talking about time management. I'm going to give you those tips and quick hits that you can apply today. We're going to talk about also shifting your thinking to be able to enhance the management of your time, to be more productive while maintaining a balance between work and life. And then we're going to dive into project management. And again, these areas are huge. So project management, I'm really going to get into a lot of detail, and it's going to move very quickly, so be ready to go. If you're the kind of person who likes to take notes, I highly encourage it. We know from data, from being a teacher, that taking notes will help you to remember after the fact. So whether you're typing notes on your laptop, off on the screen, or adding them to your phone, or even writing them with paper and pencil, that's still a great idea to give you that physical act of remembering what we're talking about. Okay, so let's get started with time management techniques. So, why do we need to manage our time? Well, there are, even for those of us who are good at time management, sort of have a natural aptitude towards being productive with our time, we still face obstacles because we're human. So the biggest obstacle that we just need to recognize is that we are at times going to want to procrastinate. Many of us will wake up every day excited to tackle the adventures that come our way at work, but we are going to have those days where we just don't feel like it, that we just find ourselves lingering at the coffee pot, or seeking out opportunities to go do other things that build this procrastination of the work that we should be getting done. Okay, so what I need you to do is I need you to think about a time when you find yourself procrastinating, when that seems more common than not. And I'm going to give you some things to think about here. Oftentimes, in general, people find themselves procrastinating when they have a big project in front of them. And by big, it might not be extensive, it might just be meaty. That's what makes it a big project. It might be something new. That's what makes it big to you. So it might not be the biggest, helping reorganize the entire organization or something like that, but it might feel big to you because it's something brand new, and so it's this big thing you have to wrap your head around. So when we're faced with big projects, often then just our human nature is to sort of have this hesitation to getting to work on it. So what I need you to do is to spend some time thinking back, reflecting on when have you been a procrastinator? When have you felt those procrastination tendencies? And then try to wrangle up in your mind, what were you facing at that time? Was it a big project? The other times that humans generally find themselves procrastinating is when they have stressful projects in front of them. Maybe you're working with an especially difficult manager, or you're working with a new team. That can be stressful because you haven't built those team relationships yet. So big projects, stressful projects. And then there are some projects that we just don't have a favor towards tackling. So it's work that we just don't like, and that's when we see procrastination coming into play. Okay, so why do you need to recognize that? I need you to stop and spend some time thinking about, when do you find yourself procrastinating? What has been in front of you? And try to find the trend. What is the trend that causes your procrastination to sort of kick up into high gear? Try to figure out what that trend is, because then you can prep for it. When I know I have a big project coming up, when I know I have a difficult team that I need to work with to get some work done, when I know that I'm going to be stressed out about a new project that's coming my way, what I can do then is prep. And a great prepping tool technique for you under those circumstances where you know you're going to want to procrastinate, you just know you're going to spend too much time at the coffee pot, or you're going to spend too much time lingering at lunch and not getting back to work. One of the things that you can do is, before that project even comes to you, when you first are hearing about it, spend a little time on your own writing down those first quick hits. You're going to create an outline of what that project would look like. Just the quick big hits. Day 1, creating a to-do list for the project. Day 2, figuring out the roles that people will be assigned for the project. Day 3, writing the project charter, or whatever it is, so that you have this project ahead of you. If you know it's going to be one that causes you procrastination, you're just going to create an outline of what that work will look like. Not that you're starting the work, but that when it comes time to jump in, it's not so scary. It's not so big because now you've chunked it out. It's not so scary because it's an unknown. It still might be stressful depending on what the causes of stress are, but stress tends to decline when we have a better handle on these smaller pieces. Then we're not so stressed out about the bigness or the hard difficulty of the project, because we can identify it in these small chunks. So your first thing to do is, before that day comes when it's time to kick in on this work to be done, you've already drafted just a rough outline. And it doesn't even have to be a great outline. It doesn't have to be a perfect outline. You're just getting it out of your head and on paper. And if on day 1 your outline is completely inappropriate or wrong or doesn't make sense, you crumple it up and throw it away. It's the act of getting that outline on paper or in your computer that will help you tackle the procrastination. That's really what we're after, is getting us past that procrastination point. And that quick hit outline is one great technique for doing that. Okay, so another technique for managing your time, another quick hit that you'll want to apply today, is making sure that you understand the work tasks that you have ahead of you and prioritizing them. So this can come in a couple different forms. You can look either in the morning or for the next day. You can do a daily task list. What's on your list of things to do for that day? You could do it by project. What's on the list of tasks for this particular project that I have ahead of me? I could do it by week. So you can divide up your work tasks however you like, whatever is best suited to your situation. But the key is not just understanding what work tasks are ahead of you, but then being able to prioritize them. So if you're going to do it for like the day ahead or the week ahead, you can prioritize them by color coding them, right? Green are the most important, yellow are sort of kind of important, red you could sort of put off to the side, or whatever colors you like. Purple's the most important, right? You can color code them. You can use a star system. You can use a number system. The priority ones go to the top of the list, or however you like to do that. But the important thing is to prioritize them. And some people prioritize they get started on the big ones first so that the small ones can fit around. You've probably heard lots of people love that analogy that comes from the Stephen Covey's 7 Habits training, where you fit the big rocks into the container first and you let the pebbles fall around the big rocks. And so prioritizing your work tasks can follow that model, where the ones that are most important are the big ones. You're getting to work on the big ones and you're letting the smaller ones kind of fall around that. It's up to you to determine how you prioritize. The important trick is that you do prioritize so that you're not just randomly working on projects that come your way. And why you don't want to do that is because that can leave you feeling overwhelming, and by the end of the day you just feel wrung out because your head is spinning with all the different things, especially in our career field where we have people coming at us with work to do. So our email inbox is constantly filling up. Oh, I got to do this, or I got to do that. And instead, you want to maintain control over what you're working on and when. That's the key. That's why prioritization will help you, because then you're maintaining control over how your time is spent. All right, so those things will still come at you, but you're going to shift them so that you know what you're working on and when, whether it's by the bigness of the rock or however you've prioritized. The urgency of the task, right, is another way to prioritize, that it has a due date that's coming soon, so it's urgent. So we've got to get that task done. Okay, so everybody's got our to-do list. So you've got your to-do list in front of you. The trick is to prioritize that to-do list, not just let it hit you. Okay, so then for our time management, we also want to be very mindful that there's lots of recommendations for how we manage our time. We want to find the time management techniques that work for me, or in your case, work for you. So it's not just that, oh, hey, here's a new time management tool. My manager wants me to start using Trello to create a to-do list every day. It's not that I'm just using time management techniques just to use them, is that I'm finding the ones that work for me. So I'm going to share some tips later on, and I've shared some now too, like with how to escape the prioritization. You should try it, apply it, see if it's helpful. If it's not helpful, move on to the next recommendation. The trick with time management is you have to find what works for you. Okay, so speaking of time management, let's get going. We have many other topics to cover. Okay, so a couple other time management techniques is the one that I highly recommend that works well for many, many people is having a visual tracking of how you're spending your time. So that when you're creating that to-do list, you're creating that to-do list in your Outlook to-do list or your Gmail to-do list. Or I recommend an email to-do list or an online to-do list. You're using an app or whatever to generate that to-do list. I recommend that for your own purposes so that you're keeping track of the things that you've been working on, what's still sitting out there that I don't know if you've ever had this where you've been given a task and you forget to write it down and it sort of nags you in the back of your mind, right? And you wake up in the middle of your night, you're like, oh, I was supposed to be working on that. I have to remember to do that tomorrow, right? So writing things down in a to-do list, again, helps with that sense of control. It helps. The visual part of it is then you see what you have in front of you. You get to cross it out. Have you seen that meme, right? Meme where you're crossing out. It's that sense of satisfaction that's done, or you can track how much of it is done so that you know. But then it's also great for reporting out. Do it for yourself, for the day you have in front of you, for the work you have in front of you. But it's also terrific for then reporting out later on. Okay, so let's get to this whiteboard. So you may be a person who just wants to do this on paper and not in an app. And that's great too, however you do it, right? Whatever works for you. I want you to do that visual tracking of how you spend your time because it creates a sense of control. It gives you a sense of satisfaction when things are done. It helps you to remember what you're working on and when. It helps you to see how you're dividing up your time, right, as your list grows and shrinks. But then you might consider also putting it on a whiteboard at your desk for the people around you, right? So depending on your office environment, you may have managers who are stopping by or coworkers, team members who are stopping by. Oh, hey, I just wanted to stop by and say, we should really think about adding this to our next team meeting. And that's great. But you could turn to the whiteboard and say, yep, okay, that's a great idea. I have all these other things I'm working on. I'll add it to the list, but it's going down here. Or I can see the outline of the things that I'm working on. I don't currently have a space for it, but I'll put it off to the side and I'll bring it in as I have space for it on my to-do list. Or I don't have space. Do you think that's something that you can wrangle up and manage and work for the team, right? So a whiteboard or nowadays, to be quite honest with you, if you have a public-facing app, if your team is using Trello, if you're using, later on I think we'll talk about, so if your team is using a SharePoint site, keeping your to-do list, your time tracking list public-facing is a great idea. Nowadays in the administrative professional field, there is a trend towards having a PA, to having one assistant, a personal assistant in a business sense, to an executive. However, many of us still find ourselves supporting multiple managers, entire teams. I recently went to an event where there was an AP for an entire floor of staff, right? So she was supporting staff in the hundreds. So having a public-facing time management tool is just, you can really leverage that to your advantage when you're working for multiple people. Okay, and then of course, this sort of goes without saying, but you have to remember to review it and update it regularly. And then you get to set when that happens. But it should be a systematic thing, not I'll update it now. But make yourself a systematic process that happens. At the end of the day, I'll update it. At the beginning of each day, I don't recommend beginning of each day, right? Because there's just so much. Our inbox is already waiting for us. The end of the day is nice because you can say, yep, okay, at 4:15, I am stopping what I'm doing and I'm updating my time tracker or my to-do list. Or if it's possible, once a week. So on Tuesdays at 4:15, I'll update this, whatever it is. You create that systematic pattern for review and updates. And then, so that whiteboard idea, I would also encourage you to capture it either with a photograph or if you mimic the whiteboard in your app or your Outlook to-do list or whatever, so that you have a history of it over time. It is really kind of a great little thing to take a picture of your whiteboard and include that. Just upload those pictures to your annual review system, whatever system you're using, or a portfolio that you take for your professional development plan at the end of the year, right? Showing that progression after a long period of time I'm telling you, it's terrific, right? It can really work well for you. Okay, so let's talk about then the trends that we're seeing as our career as a whole. I mentioned earlier that we do see a trend. Particularly, I see this happening in Europe. I anticipate it coming towards, I live in the Midwest, so I see it coming towards America in the future, where we have what's called a PA, a dedicated assistant to an executive. And so that's what I want to talk about here, is that because we are dedicating ourselves to a specific executive, we can really leverage how we use technology and how we support that person's use of technology. Gone are the days where we were the girl Friday, to be quite frank with you, right? Gone are the days where someone said, hey, you take care of this, I'm not doing any of it. Nowadays, we really see ourselves as a partner where we're helping our executive leverage technology. We're using technology to get the work done. So technology is more prevalent than ever. We need to be able to use those technology tools to help us get our work done and to help our executive, right? That's what we do. We help, whether it's 1 or 10, we help our staff to be successful in their positions. And what I'm asking you to think about is how you're leveraging technology to get that work done. Because if you Google time tracking apps or time management apps or to-do list apps, right, you're going to get 10 different hits. You have to figure out what's the technology that I can use that will help me leverage my work or my executive leverage their work. Okay. So other ways that you can leverage technology, let's focus our techniques now on the use of technology. Other ways that we can leverage technology are by streamlining repetitive tasks. This is not a trend. This is what you need to be doing today. So when you have work that occur in your software that occurs over and over again, create a macro to get it done for you. So if you're constantly putting footers in documents or spreadsheets, create a macro that automatically adds that footer for you so that you're not the one constantly adding the footer. If you're adjusting, and it can be the littlest thing, if you need to adjust margins, if you need to apply certain formatting styles over and over and over again, if you need to change page orientation, and again, this can be in any, right? We apply footers in Outlook emails, right? We call it a signature. Create a macro to get that work done for you. So you start out this one by just thinking about what are the repetitive tasks that I do in software where I can create a macro to get that work done for me. Okay, the next one is the use of templates. So I've just got done telling you, create a macro to add the footer, to set the margins, to change the orientation, right? All of that can be preset in a template. Done, do it today. Set up your documents, your spreadsheets, your emails, so that the outcome will be exactly how you need them to be. Save it as a template, as an actual template file, so the next time you open it up, it's ready to go. Okay, and then do you see what that happens? Do you see the cascading effect? Now you have to think about other things that you do for your macros that you can get done. Aha! Now we need to step up our macro game. So instead of my macro inserting a footer, what if I created a macro, if I know that I have a consistent use of time and I need to enter my time, for example, in a spreadsheet or a form, can I set up a macro that says I spend an hour every day updating, working with this project X, right? So I'm entering my time, an hour for project X for client Y. So a macro is getting that done for me at the end of the week. It's entering my time for me, right? So you get to figure that out. The thinking through the cascading effect then of how the use of templates saves you time. Now how can you add macros on top of that to save you time? Then I want you to think, like, right, next step beyond that, how can you help any groups or teams that you support leverage technology? Teams can eat up a lot of our time, right? We're wrangling who needs to do what task. We're managing how far along they're moving on that task for the team. they're reporting their progress to us, and we're putting that all together in a summary to share with the team as a whole, right? So how can you leverage technology? How can you teach the team to leverage technology? And a couple of suggestions I would have for you are thinking about using email groups like Outlook groups or SharePoint sites or SharePoint groups. So if you have team members reporting to you, how can you have them report to the SharePoint site for the team as a whole instead of reporting to you? So just as an example, I'm supporting a team currently where we have different assignments, and our team members have to go out, gather input, bring that input back to the team, and then we build from there. So everybody goes out, gets their input from other groups in the organization. They bring that input back as a team, and then we build our little plan from there. Okay, and so in the past, those people would go out, gather their input, report it to me. I'd have to put it in a summary. We'd share it and review it together as a team. Now, oh, and by the way, right, for all of those, when they're going out to gather input, all of those meetings had to be scheduled, right? So I had to contact the other AP, get on their calendar, figure out when that all would happen, share the information, location, time, make sure the other person has all that information, knows where they're going, has the supporting documents, right? So it would just be this big time. I would just spend an enormous amount of time supporting this team. So what we do now is I have all of those calendars up on our SharePoint site. People who have to go out and gather input now go look at that calendar, they have the contact information for the admin who supports that group or that department. They set it up. They do their input gathering. They type up their notes. They put it on our team's SharePoint site. Our team is required to go out and look on their own, review those notes before they come to our next meeting. I don't have to type up a thing. We assemble the summary together as we review that in the meeting, which we're doing minutes for anyway, right? Okay, so that's a big long story about just leverage. Think about how you can leverage technology to load off some of the work that you're doing for any teams or groups that you're supporting. All right, now it does at first take a little bit of extra time, right? Because we have to train people who haven't used Outlook groups before, or we have to train people who have never touched SharePoint before. We have to train people on how to use Trello. But that 1 or 2 hour training just can alleviate so much work in the future. And by the way, it doesn't have to be perfect out of the gate, right? Sometimes team members will be like, well, what do you want me to do? What am I doing on SharePoint? You have to have a better, you have to have this all clearly laid out and structured. And it doesn't have to be. It can be, hey, we're going to explore the use of SharePoint as a group to help leverage the work that we do. Okay, so go forth with confidence. We're going to use new technology, and we're going to go forward, and we're going to get better at it. We're going to develop our use of it, and it's going to help our team as a whole. None of the work so let me stop for just a second. I got to tell you another little story. So when I first began my career as an AP, just a couple of years ago, I worked with an office manager. I worked under an office manager who was the linchpin. I think I told you earlier, right? My first gig was as a office. I was called an office aide at a furniture store. And the office manager to that furniture store, she was it. She knew everything about the store. She was the linchpin for that store. If she was out sick, it was a mad scramble to try to hobble along in the entire store without her. We don't see that anymore. You may see people who sort of try to reserve that kind of, I don't know if they feel a sense of power because they're the knowledge holder, but in general, organizations don't value that kind of person anymore. They value the kind of person who shares the knowledge, who helps others to be successful. Because quite frankly, that's the world we live in. We don't live in a world where one person can be the gatekeeper or the key holder, or whatever you want to call it, right? We don't live in that kind of world anymore. We're in the cloud. We're sharing knowledge. We're sharing data. We're working in teams. So if you can be that person, what I'm trying to say is that if you can be that person that shares your knowledge to help others be successful, it actually creates value to you as the organization, because the knowledge that you have today is useful today, but technology and processes and organizational structure changes so often, and it's just so common that this is changing, that your knowledge will change as well. So if you're constantly supporting others to help them be successful, that's the value you provide, is that ability to help others. Da, 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 the light bulb goes off. All right, so back to this whole thing. It's that training others, helping others to be successful, saves you time and generates value for you as a member of that organization. All right, off my high horse, let's get back to work. The need for technology is only going to grow. 43%, so a recent survey, this was by Office Dynamics, don't know if you follow them, great resource. 43% expect proficiency in mobile media and online collaboration over the next 5 years, right? It's out there. This is, let's embrace it. 33% of employees expect to be proficient in the cloud. We're APs, we're already proficient in the cloud. Glad to see you joining us, 33%, right? We're using SharePoint, we're using Google Docs or whatever. We're using Trello. And I mentioned Trello a lot, but whatever it is, Slack, whatever you're using, we're using these cloud technologies. And the trend here is that others are joining us, and we're going to welcome them aboard and share that knowledge. Okay. So the first half, and I've only covered time management. And it can seem like a lot, right? I want you to be able to absorb thinking about how to manage your time to help energize your work without sacrificing yourself. As admins, I see, and actually I'll be quite honest with you, right? I have students who are already working as admins in the field, but now they need a degree, right? That's another sort of shift that we see. Previously, we didn't need a degree in our career field. Nowadays, organizations want us to have that degree. So I have students who have been working in the field for years. They're coming to get their degree so that they can show that to their bosses, or even maybe advance in their careers, move up the ladder, get a raise, whatever. But they need to maintain that work-life balance. You cannot sacrifice yourself for your career, or there will be no career to have. Okay, so how do you do that? How do you take care of yourself with all of this time management? Oh yeah, right? It's about time management. Time management's actually an old acronym. It's an old saying. We don't really talk about time management, right? There's only 24 hours in a day. What we really are talking about is self-management. How do I manage myself to make the best use of those 24 hours a day? Okay, so here's what we're going to think about. Setting aside specific time to do something you want to do. And I'm going to put something out there. This might be controversial, but I hope there's something at work that you want to do. Is there a project that you want to do at work? Do you want to learn more about SharePoint? Do you have one of those cool teams at work that you want to join? I'm currently doing a little bit of work on sustainability in my organization. I love being a member of the green team, right? So it's work, I get it, I'm on the clock. I didn't join the team that gets to go to Jamaica, right? It's not the ideal thing, but as long as I'm at work, is there something I want to do? Well, hey, this kind of sounds, let's save the planet. All right, I'll join that team. I like that. So set aside time at work to do something that you want to do, that it's not just all coming at you. You're choosing to work on it. Okay, when you are confronted with stressful situations, think about who you can talk to about that stressful situation. And it should not be someone, you don't always need to unload your burdens on someone, right? So it doesn't always have to be like a mentor person. It can be just someone who's willing to listen. And in fact, I'd also encourage you not to use the same person always. And don't overwhelm that person. So you want to be able to talk about stressful situations, but lots of times there's many stressful situations throughout the day. So pick one a week, if possible. If possible, what was the most stressful thing that happened to you this week? And it doesn't always actually have to be a person. Well, let's start with, it doesn't have to be a person at work. If you have a family member or a friend, do you belong to a book club, or can you join a workout club? I belong to a fitness class, and I'll be honest with you, I don't really do it for the fitness component. I wish I did, I try. But I do it because we stand around after class and we talk about how was work, and I'll be like, oh, can we do kickboxing, right? I'm thinking about this thing, right? Just 5 minutes to say, ugh, this I'm working on, and I don't have to give details. I'm working on this project, and this manager just irritates me or whatever, and then I've gotten it out of my system. I've told somebody about it. Okay, so if you have that, work that in, and then I'm going to throw this out there. It doesn't actually have to be a person. Can you tell your dog? Can you tell your cat? Saying it out loud, getting it outside of yourself. And what does this have to do with time management, right? Because time management is not really about time management. It's about you management. It's about managing your health and wellness. And that helps you to be productive and come back to work ready to go again. Okay, manage your relationships. Are you making enough time for other people in your life, whether that be kids or family or friends or whatever? How are you incorporating people in your life? You guys are IAAP members. Take advantage of your IAAP network, right? Don't just go to the learning sessions for your CEUs. Go to the cocktails and what do they call those? The cocktails and connections. Go hang out. Listen to other people talk about their stressful situations. Be the listener, because you know what? Then it allows you the opportunity to think, oh wow, at least I don't have that, right? It can make you feel better about your work. Or you can nod and say, oh yes, we're in the same boat together. Okay, find ways to deal with stress. Get enough sleep, eat healthy, get up and go outside, get a little physical movement. If you have a stand-up desk, right, do these little things. It doesn't have to be perfect. As admins, sometimes we suffer from the perfectionist complex. It doesn't have to be perfect. If it's 5 minutes a day, if it's 5 minutes a week, at least you did it, right? Recognize that you're doing that for yourself. And I want to back up to the get enough sleep statement. I'm a big fan of the get rest statement. So I can lay in bed, right? I can go to sleep at my designated time at night. I am not going to worry about whether or not I'm falling asleep. I'm laying there resting. I'm going to let my body rest. Whether or not I fall asleep, that's a whole nother, right? That's a whole nother presentation you guys can attend. That's a workshop you can attend about how to help yourself get enough sleep. But just letting yourself rest, even if you're not actually sleeping, is helpful for recharging those batteries so that when you're faced with your to-do list the next day, at least you've been able to rest and rejuvenate. Okay. All right, so we are back at work. We are the administrative partner to our executive assistants. I mentioned this earlier that we're the PA, we're the personal assistant, we're the executive assistant. We are the administrative professionals supporting these other people to help them achieve their success. So as you're thinking about your work-life balance, you're thinking about how can you create a structure so that those people that you support are mindful of the structure, that you're not going to let them eat away at your time. And when does that happen? That sometimes happens when they're overloaded, when they're not being mindful, when they're not applying time management techniques. So as you apply your own time management techniques, when you find something that's helpful to you, don't be afraid to share it out. And here's an easy way to work that in. Oh, John, I see you're stressful today. Oh, Jen, you're looking like you're overwhelmed. I use this app, or I got myself this whiteboard, and it really helped me to feel better about all the things on my to-do list, right? You just approach it that way. I learned this thing, and it was really helpful to me. And then whether or not they apply it, that's totally up to them. Okay, finally, we're ready to move on to project management. Again, project management is a 3-credit course. Welcome to my world. I'm going to try to quickly move through a lot of information here. I apologize for the quickness of this, but these are some good hits that I think you can apply right away today. So how do you help a project achieve success? Number one, make sure everybody on the team knows the goal. I have plural goals, but if you have one goal that you're going to achieve, what is it? Define it, get it out there, say it. Make sure that other members that are working on this project know it and have bought into it. And then you get to figure out that second one, the how to get motivated. You get to figure out how do you build that motivation, or how are they going to get motivated? Lots of times we are just assigned a project, and we'll be faced with people who will flat out tell us, I don't want to be here. I have to be here. I don't want to be here. So it's a trick. It's a trick to figure out how they're going to be motivated then. Well, number one, if you have to be here, that means somebody wants you here. What do you offer that team? Why would they have put you on this team to begin with? Dig deep and find out what can they bring to the table. There's got to be something. There's always something, or quite honestly, they wouldn't be employed. So figure out what that is and use it and leverage it. And it can be hard, but that'll help the project move forward. Don't let that person be a rock in the stream and the rest of you are water just getting around that rock. Water can move rocks, even the biggest rocks, right? We have those beautiful desert scenes where water has carved through rocks. Figure out how the momentum of that team can help that rock move along. Okay, project structure. Are the right people assigned to the right tasks? Do you have the right people on the team? Do you need to bring in others? Do you need to reassign, what does that project structure look like that this team is the best team to support the end goals? And do your team members have the correct support? Do they have the technology they need? Do they have the time commitment from their managers that they need? Do they understand what role they play in supporting the team as a whole? Lots of times I see teams where the members don't understand why they're there or how they can support the team. They don't even understand how they can support the team. So take a minute to have coffee with somebody and say, I'm so glad you're on board. You know what I think you have to offer this team? You know why I'm so glad you're on the team? Is because you're really great at this. You have this great perspective, and I like to see you. I love it when you speak about that perspective on this team. Or you're really great about always responding to the emails. And when you respond, others respond. So I love it when whatever it is, you're figuring out how they support the team, and you're just going to have a quick cup of coffee with them to make sure they understand how they're supporting the team. And even if they're not doing it, but they have the potential to do it, right? It's a great little, hey, when you see them in the hallway, hey, you know what? I'm so glad you're on the team because I've heard you're really good at documentation, so or whatever it is. Okay, so continuing on with project goals. So you already know this, right? Attitude's the key. As the support member to projects, how can we help with attitude? Well, a lot of it is about mimicking. People will mimic what they see. And when I do this session in a classroom setting, we do lots of little psychological games where just see how people will start to mimic good behavior that you bring. Showing up early to the meeting. Hey, I'm glad to see you. Starting that meeting on time no matter what. Hey, oh yeah, so you know what, and even if the team hasn't before, you know what, we've got a lot of work to get done. So from now on, we're going to start the meeting on time. It's really important that you show up a few minutes early so that we start the meeting on time. How can I help you to get here so that we start, whatever it is, helping that attitude so they're good, ready to go. Measuring progress so that your to-do list for the team, you're bringing that to the team to show them, hey, we got this done. We're moving on to this thing. That the agendas are very clear. We're working on this. The past meetings show our meeting minutes, show our project on that. We're moving forward. What incentives do we have? Can we report out to a VP or a president? Can we invite the president to come to our meeting to see the progress that we have? Can I ask the executive, who's ever the sponsor of our team, can I ask the executive to come say, good job, team, I'm really excited to see your progress on this, right? And as the support member to the project, can we do a little interference blocking? If there's other people talking about, we're wasting our time, we'll never get done, it's too much, it's too big. How can we help stop that interference and help the team move forward? Yeah, I know this is a really hard project. What if we break it down into little chunks? Yeah, I know the timeline is crazy. We have to get this work done by September. How do we look at that timeline? How do we back it up so that we can see ourselves successful in September? How do we give it a shot so that we try, so that we can at least try to, whatever it is, whatever the interference is, how can you help support that? Okay, so if you have not done DAPS for setting your goals, for setting your project goals, there's lots of ways to set goals. We have SMART goals, lots of people have done that. If you haven't done a DAPS adaptation, it's just like setting SMART goals, you're just doing the DAPS, dated, achievable, personal, positive. You can go out and Google that. You're helping your team members set their goals so that the goals, by the way, you're helping the team set the goals. When the team gets to say what the goal is of the project, or that they at least get to maybe set some goals for the project, what you're doing is getting their buy-in, right? Because the goals haven't been given to them, they get to say what the goals are. So spend a meeting with your team, just having them go through DAPS or SMART so that they understand why these goals are here and that they've had a say in what the goals are. People take it for granted, but everybody wants their voice to be heard. Give your project members a chance for their voice to be heard. Okay, next up for project management, how are we going to get this project to be successful? Make sure that when you've created your goals, that you then are able to adjust the priorities that are on your plate so that you can help this project be successful. Get it on paper from your manager that the goals are realistic, positive, that you have long-term goals and short-term goals, and that you have that commitment from your organization so that you can give the proper support to this project to help it be successful. Seek the opportunities for this project. Apply new skills. Take a chance. Give it a good possibility of succeeding. Apply the time management skills that we've wrangled up earlier to this specific project so that you can allow these opportunities to arise. As you allow project opportunities to arise, you can extend the relationships you have. It helps you extend your circle in your organization. You'll find new role models and new members. It can really be a rewarding addition to your career. If you're feeling stuck, I highly encourage you to take this approach with any project that you're on, helping the project to see the opportunities that are there within the project that you may, because sometimes we're so stuck on getting this project done, we don't uncover the possibilities, the opportunities that are hidden within it. Use your projects to help your career just find fulfillment. Okay, managing projects, here's a practical guide. You have a to-do list for yourself, have a to-do list for your project. I'm going to go very quickly through these because we're near our end time. Estimate the cost and time for everything on that to-do list. Get that down on paper. If you, as the support person for that project, need to do that estimate, that cost estimate on time on your own, then carve that out of your day to get that. Or better yet, assign this task to your project team. Divide it up, have people in the different components, get estimates on the cost and time for that specific task. Give tasks complete structure. You're defining what that task looks like, right? So how much time will it take? What are the outcomes that we're seeking at the end of the task? What are the things that need to happen for that task? And you're sitting down with who's ever assigned to that task, and you're helping them to develop this clear structure. You're assigning resources. Resources can be a desk, a table, a computer. Resources can be a person. You have your project team, but do they need to tap into other experts, other support staff, whatever it is? What other resources do they need to help this project move and advance? Monitor and adjust. All right, so here we have, you've already know what this is. This is our Gantt chart. You can do a Gantt chart in Excel. You can use MS Project. There's lots of free project tools out there. Create this structure, and I'm suggesting that you use a project management technology tool, because even if it's Excel, that you're leveraging technology, because it's going to make your life easier. If you have a sit down to help a project member identify time, cost, to-do lists, and nobody's written it down or put it in a project management tool, then they're going to forget, and then it's not been useful. So capture this all within some sort of technology tool. Okay, monitor and adjust as you go along, right? You've written your to-do list. That to-do list is going to change as the project goes forward. Monitor and adjust just like you did with your own time. And in fact, your entire scope might change, and probably will. As projects move forward, their goals, their scope changes. So you constantly have your eye on, what does that end product look like? Do not get caught in the trap that that end product is unchangeable. Even when you have an executive who says, I want the end product to be X, I want it to be a report out to the president. Well, that might be, it might adjust. Be open-minded, because it will help the final if the final product adjusts as the team works on it, that end product is going to be the best possible outcome, rather than the team adjusting to fit this end idea. Okay, so your project team, sorry about that, your project team has a purpose. You're providing agendas, you're taking care of the timing, you're doing the tracking, and you're giving that team support to help the team be successful in the end. You're also helping people be accountable for the work that you're doing, so you're creating structure to have team members check in. Deadlines are given a priority. You're allowing people to close the circle on the work that you're doing. You're not just giving them a task and off they go and they never report back, right? Close that circle. Bring them back in to report on how the tasks go. What did you learn from doing that tasks? How is it helpful to us as a project team? And we're APs. We're admin professionals. The buck stops here. We're not counting on anybody else to take accountability in the end. It stops with us, because you know what? When people know the buck stops here, right? What did we talk about before? They're going to mimic that behavior. They're going to take accountability for their own tasks and know that the buck on their task stops with them. All right. Last step. The last step of every project is to properly document it. And as you've been doing your documentation along the way, you have your to-do list, you have your task list, you have your timing and schedule, you have your cost estimations. You're doing all those things along the way. So at the end, it's no big deal, right? It's really just gathering up those little things, putting a cover page on it, and having, right, your 1,000-page report. Done. This project killed it. And once you have that end product, the next project is going to be killer, because now you've been through it and you know what it looks like. And people are, I promise you, people are going to come to you and say, how did you do that? You took a team, you got what done? Can you tell me how to do that with my team? I guarantee it'll happen. And by the way, if you, I have a little asterisk on here, this is a quote from Frank. If you don't do this, the end of this project is, right? Yikes. Make life easier for yourself. Do it along the way. Be the rock star that you are. I know you're a rock star, right? You're an IAAP member. You're already going above and beyond. You're already a rock star. All I'm asking you to do is get on stage. Take the recognition that's due to you. Okay, so your work desk is a reflection of how you're managing your time and your projects. You guys know that. I'm going to skip over these and just quickly get to the end. So be mindful of how your space reflects. The management of your space should just align with the management of your time, the management of your projects, and it'll help you to achieve this mastery. When your space is in order, it'll help you to achieve those mastery. Okay, my last slide here is then tools that you can take advantage of. I just have these on the slide. There's no special magic trick to these. I'm just throwing them out there for your consideration. You might have tools that you already use and that you would like to share, and that's terrific. So what I'm going to do here at the end then is I'm just going to remind you that you are welcome to connect with me, Penny Johnson. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, so Twitter, I have to think about LinkedIn. I would love to connect with you. You've already been given my email address, so you are welcome to ask me any questions that you have. I will send my slide deck to Valerie, who will disperse it, right? We'll work together to get that dispersed to you as you get your credits for attending this workshop. And I would just love to connect and know what you're doing to achieve your rock star status. If you're not already on Twitter especially, I find it an outstanding career cohort. I follow all of the biggies, all of the names you already know, right? Office Dynamics, Office Ninjas, Tips for Assistants, all of the IAAP, right? I follow all of them on Twitter, and it really is a great little community. And as you start following people, you follow who they follow, right? And you start to see yourself being surrounded by other rock stars, and it's just encouraging and really a great feeling. So get out there, shine, claim your rock star status, and I hope to connect with you in the future. I have a little time left for questions. If anyone wants to fill up the chat window, I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.